Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. It is me, once again, screaming into the void of the internet. The topic that I wanted to discuss with you all today is, there's a lot of people that are trying to observe the decline of the West, the decline of what, they usually deem first world countries, right? And whilst I agree that we should document this, I also think that we need to take into consideration that at the end of the day, there are still core issues that happen every time, this goes down. When you really think about across human history as empires and kingdoms and villages, whatever you want to call them, little communities of people would rise and fall, a cycle usually repeats itself. Corrupt people dominate the regime. Whatever it is, again, whatever ism you want to say, kingdom, kings, just governors, whatever you want to say, right? They dominate the regime, they become corrupt because all the power that they have. The citizens grow tired, they overthrow, and they vow to never have it happen again. Only to, obviously not immediately, especially not when they're alive, say every couple 100 years, maybe? And you're back to, square one, right? And then a lot of instances, even if it's not 100 years, even if those people are still alive, once they're in that position, then they just start ruling and screwing everyone else over. Because, I think that a lot of times, people say that they hate the corruption, they hate how things are, but it's really, they're just envious. They're envious. They're envious, and they wish that they could be in that position. They wish that they could have all this FU money, not have to obey rules, and I get that. I really do. Because, I looked at this comment on a reel where they were making, meme jokes about, people who said that they didn't want, kids. And, they had, the typical, Soy Jack, I don't want kids versus, Chad, my bloodline ends with me. And someone was saying how their grandmother told them that, oh, when are you going to give me grandkids? And he said, well, when are you going to give me generational wealth? And, and then she didn't believe that someone said that. And I'm like, yeah, because realistically speaking, a lot of people are just kind of envious of, not being in that position. They really want to be in the position of power. And they feel that's why they need to destroy power for everyone to make sure that doesn't happen. That's kind of why I always felt the same, I don't want that much power. I don't want, if I ever wanted power, I want, real power. I don't want, some kind of, freaking, financial power. I want, FU power. Hey, listen, you F with me, something bad's gonna happen kind of power. Of course, good luck having that, without, freaking having bombs that can blow up cities, because if you don't, then trust and believe, they don't really give a rat's arse. And even then, even if you do, they don't mind sending a drone strike your way and stuff like that, right? I don't mind doing that to you at all. But what I'm trying to get at here is this, right? At the end of the day, we all are watching first world countries collapse. And whilst it's good to make note of why it's happening, you have to understand that the core issue is happening. And it's because they don't want you to know history. Because I feel if we all just took the time, if every single person of reasonable intellect, because listen, you don't need, because they try and make it seem like you need to be this really, really intelligent person that contemplates in deep thought for prolonged periods of time and stuff like that. You don't really need to be one of these people. And I really hope that this rain isn't going to open up, so I might try and make this one a little bit quicker than usual, maybe 15 minutes or something like that, right? They make it seem like you need all this intellect for stuff, and it's no. You got to start looking at it every single thing, again, that has been dominated by people is usually done in a way to where the people at the top make things inherently complex to where you need to rely on them to guide it, so that then they can, fleece and, do their little workarounds and stuff like that, right? Think about it. Really. Let's talk about science, right? Science does not need to be complex. They'll lie to you because, listen, you're going to disagree because you're believing what they say. Science doesn't need to be complex. It is written complex so that they understand. And why? Well, when you think about how much money a scientist makes with, whatever funding, for stuff that is obviously, unique and important. Because, listen, these cocksuckers would say that they would be doing stuff like freaking hot wiring roaches and effing with, their nervous systems. to, like, adjust their movements. Because at the end of the day, understand this. People, no matter what happens to them, no matter what goes through them in terms of, like, development in their life, they're still people. And they still do weird things without explanation. And that doesn't just mystically stop just because you get a PhD in a lab coat. You know? They still do corrupt things and whatever. They really do. And there's plenty of instances where, especially when money's involved, trust my research, guys. Trust the science, right? Go look back and look at these cocksuckers that were lobotomizing people. Oh, trust me, lobotomies are perfectly safe. You know, I'm basically one of the only surgeons lobotomizing people. But that doesn't affect my opinion, right? And then think about law. Why is law written so inherently complex? Why do you think it? Simple. So that the judge and the lawyers, the people who make a living from that, know the workarounds, and you don't. So even if you don't, even if it's something that basically they shouldn't be able to pin on you, they can pin it on you because you don't know how to defend yourself. And you have to rely on someone that is objectively not going to be incentivized to defend you unless you give them good amounts of money. The public defendant that they'll give you and stuff like that, they don't care as much. They would love to be like, you know, a private one where, like, you got to hire them and you got to pay them, like, a really good amount. Because it all goes back to money. Heck, my friend, if you remember anything that I mentioned in relation to my friend, for legal reasons, his company basically just couldn't pay anyone. And he hasn't gotten paid since. And I asked him if he tried to take up, like, some legal action. And he said that he did. But the attorney that he discussed it with, that cocksucker said that he would be losing money before, like, he even really got the case up and going, so it wasn't worth his time. But our justice system, guys, our justice system, we should try... No. That's why I say the justice system completely needs to be done away with. And why I'm bringing this up is because it does go back to what I'm doing. I know that I go off in tangents, but hear me out. This really does correlate, guys. All of the people in those positions, at the end of the day, are dominating those positions, correct? Right? So let's go back and bring it back to, like, the whole country matter. All of these cocksuckers in politics are dominating the public. They're dominating these positions. And no matter how much they get caught doing the most egregious crap, whether it's freaking CP content, whether it's sexual misconduct and stuff like that, right? Drone strikes, civilian terrorism, essentially, and stuff like that, right? Where, like, these freaking cocksuckers are ordering, like, their militaries to, like, attack civilians. Is anything done? No. Because they can write the law and change the laws to where they can get away with it. So we're in the midst of everyone is realizing, they're thinking that they can continuously get away with it. Now, I'd argue that, contrary to a lot of other time periods, in this time period, people have just become so pussified over fear of death. And I said this before, it's very interesting to me that you would think that, considering that, like, people are very nihilistic and very atheistic, right? And they say that life's meaningless and they want to, like, return to the void of nothingness. Why are then we so, like, pussified? Why aren't people willing to take action for change? Back in the day, where people did believe in something, they were far more willing to take action. Now they're not. And yet you have all this, you know, obvious information, obvious evidence that your freaking politicians are corrupt and you take no action. And this isn't me, like, you know, saying, oh, well, see, you always say stuff like that and then you're not taking action yourself. And listen, like I said, you know, like, if I was going to take action, if I wanted to, you know, wage my own private war, I'd do it, you know. I'm not going to sit around here and lie. I don't have the means to right now, but, you know, let's say that, like, something really crappy happens in my life. Let's say a divorce grape for a minute. And, let's just say that, without going into too much detail, the judge better find somewhere to sleep that isn't familiar. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. You know, I'll say that. I don't care about what happens afterward. You know, so don't worry about me. You know, I really don't care. But back in the day, again, when people did believe, they were willing to make change. Now you have all this evidence. It's not like it's something that, you know, only a few people can get a hold of. Because back in the day, people would have to, like, say, hey, listen, the king's doing X, Y, and Z, and they'd have to rally the public, and the public say, yeah, let's, you know, get behind this person. They rally behind him. You don't really need to get people to rally behind anyone now. The evidence is there. If you're willing to, like, just do a little bit of work, the evidence is there. You know? And yet, everyone sees it, and they're like, no. And that's why, like, just looking at the fall of the West, no. That's the wrong way to go about it. You need to look at the fall of kingdoms over time. You need to look at the fall of empires, of communities, of villages, all these things. You need to look at them and realize that there is a pattern, a massive pattern that happens. And one of the biggest issues is information control. If you control information, if people do not know the truth, if they are not consistently learning about why cultures did what they did, why groups fell apart and stuff like that, which again is usually, like I just said, an infinite little loop, it's doomed to happen. One of the worst things that's happening is that people will not study history. And there's no excuse. Okay, there's no excuse why you shouldn't study history. You have it at your fingertips. You can do it while you're doing something else. You could be playing a video game and still studying history. I do it all the time. You know, I have instances where I'm just watching a documentary, and then there's instances where I'm just, like, you know, gaming in the background, and I'm listening to, you know, some stuff going on with history. You'd be surprised what you can retain. Like, for example, these, like, not Titanics, but, these ships that sunk, that I use for, examples about human nature, and how, like, these people were trying to make it seem like, oh, you were supposed to prioritize, you know, the women and children, even though if they weren't yours, and your life as a man mattered, and so that's why I don't, look down on those guys that tried to take boats for themselves. I got that from a history channel that is documenting the sinking of like ships, like ocean disasters and stuff like that. I got that from that, and I usually listen to that in the background while I, like, game or listen, or like eating and stuff like that. I listen to that. So you'd be surprised what you can retain. The information is readily accessible, and everyone really just needs to make documents of why this is happening and follow again the breadcrumbs, because it's right there. It's right there. While you're starving, metaphorically, and maybe even physically, maybe literally, right? These cocksuckers are getting fat, and that's how it's always been. Because the moment that they get there, the moment that people, start backing off and say, oh, maybe we can trust them, maybe they'll, like, raise the kids up. No. The moment you stop holding these cocksuckers over the fire, they forget their place, okay? And, yes, it is their place. If for some reason humanity feels the need to have people rule over them, it's very odd to me. And like I said, you'll see this time and time again whenever I bring up, the topic of individuality and how quickly people are willing to stop what is best for them and do what is believed to be the best for them, which is decided by people who are not them. Society, as we say, as I have coined it. All right? That's what it's always been. So if you must have them rule over you, if you must feel like, oh, I need these people ruling over me, because God forbid that you have a bit of accountability, right? Why aren't we holding these cocksuckers' feet over the fire? Physically and literally. No, not metaphorically. Yeah, I mean literally. Because when they're doing effed up stuff, and they're getting away with it, I mean, looking at what these freaking politicians have gotten away with, like, it blows me away that they still breathe oxygen. Confirmed that they've done. The amount of, like, freaking underaged crap that they've been involved with, the scandals, the excommunications, if you catch my drift, the people they make go bye-bye, where it's, like, obvious that these cocksuckers had something to do with it. I really don't get it. I don't get it. That's why, like, yeah, listen, man, observe the fall of the West, but I'm going to be completely honest, until people start just demanding that they learn their history and that they make an honest effort, like, it's just going to be doomed to repeat itself. Let's say that the West falls, because listen, I'm going to be honest, what I really see happening is, let's be real, guys, the Western world accounts for 20%, probably, right, of what most of the population on Earth goes through, okay? We are the minority in terms of, like, how we live life. Most of the world is poor. Most of the world starves. They do not have a comfortable life. That's just the truth, And unfortunately for us, we're beginning to realize more and more that, a lot more of that comfort is going to, come at a price. A higher price than, than you're going to be willing to pay. And you're seeing that time and time again. And unless you make drastic changes and sacrifice certain things, you're kind of just going to be stuck. listen, I'm not going to pretend like, the lifestyle that I choose is going to be something that people are going to be fine with. Well, I want a big house, I want a big family, I need a wife, I need a woman, and that's fine. And so that's why I'm like, hey, listen, it may not be a sacrifice for me, but I know to, like, other people it will. I don't need tons of crap. I'm fine with, my little small house. Don't need a gal, especially not long term. Maybe short term, like a little hooker every now and again, alright, but that's about it. Like, kids? Oh, no. I am kidded out. I am kidded out. No, thank you. But that's me. I'm not going to pretend like that's going to be like what everyone else feels to that, right? But yeah, like, the West is essentially just slowly becoming like all these other countries. And people are really, really in for a rude awakening unless, like, action is taken. But even then, like, what action can you take, right? Because the action that really is going to get the change is going to be the excommunication. It's going to be the crusade. That's what's going to get the change. People don't care until their arses are on the line. They don't care until their arses are on the line. And they know when their arse is on the line. Like I said in a previous video, what is his name? Justin Trudeau, yes. During 2020, when the countries were shut down, he had those truckers, when they were blockading and stuff like that, he had their bank accounts frozen during a pandemic. And then he fled the country. So don't think that they don't know when their arse is on the line. So, yeah. Interesting. Very interesting indeed. But that's usually what's going to result in the change. And these people aren't willing to do that. Apparently life's meaningless, but it's not meaningless enough for me to not, attempt to fight to change my situation. I'm not speaking for me, I'm speaking for, like, a lot of people. It's interesting, isn't it? It's very interesting. That's why I'm telling you, like, listen, you really ought to study the fall of empires. Why do they rise? Why do they fall? Study human nature. It is literally like having Matrix glasses. It really is. You can see the code and everything. It's insane. And yet these people walk around and act like everything's fine. But I guess, because people try and say ignorance is bliss. No, it's not. Ignorance is innocence, in a way, I feel. And when you get robbed of your innocence, it usually has a negative impact on you. It really does. But I'm going to go ahead and leave it here because I don't think I can talk for as long as I usually talk because it looks like it's going to rain. I don't know if we got a little bit of a storm down here, but it is what it is. Let me know if you took what I said into consideration. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Like, why do you think the collapse of the West is happening, stuff like that. And do you think that it can be prevented? Hope you guys enjoyed. God bless. I'll see you next time.